Tom Mboya was fearless, as I said. Macoure has shown that he's fearless.
Who killed Tom Mboya? People are comparing between Tom Mboya and Kasmuel Macoure. Watu wengine wajui who is Tom Mboya. That is the reason why I've called you to tell us who is Tom Mboya. So wakimcompare waweze kujua Tom Mboya ni nani.
Tom Mboya was very, very categorical, was very, very important in Barack Obama becoming the president of the United States. Some of his friends had told him that, Tom Mboya, you know, there are people who are planning to kill you. And he said, you know, me going to the UK for 2 or 3 days is not going to derail those people who want to assassinate me. It will only just extend a few days, but it will not do away with those people. So he was a fearless person, never went to Britain. He was assassinated just before he went. He was gunned down by one Nation Isaac Njoroge. Yeah. Nation was arrested, and after Nation was arrested, he said something very important, that why don't you arrest the big man? Yeah. Hello guys, welcome to yet another great session where we're going to discuss about this important figure in our country called Tom Mboya. Tom Mboya, a very renowned figure, one of our founding fathers here in Kenya, and a lot has been talked about Tom Mboya recently. Jeff.
Thank you so much. I know very well the reason why Boni tunataka tuongele kuhusu Tom Mboya. Right now, people are saying that we have someone mwenye anapigania wa Kenya called Kasmuel Macoure. So people are comparing between Tom Mboya and Kasmuel Macoure. Watu wengine wajui who is Tom Mboya. That is the reason why I've called you to tell us who is Tom Mboya. So wakimcompare waweze kujua Tom Mboya ni nani.
Okay.
Who is Tom Mboya?
Well, the story of Tom Mboya begins in 1930 when he was born. That is the year that he was born in currently what is known as Juja Farm. That was the sisal plantations that were there in Thika. And both his parents were low-income earners and used to work there. But later his father came to be promoted to be an overseer of those farms. Much is known about Tom Mboya from 1942 all the way. That is when he joined St. Mary's Yala. Then 1946 went to Holy Ghost College, that is Mangu High School. 1948 went and studied sanitary studies in the UK, then later on went to study economics. That is in 1950 went to study economics, and that is why the background of economics planning comes from. In 1950s to 1960s, you find that now that is the time that he was getting into working, as well as the late 1950s to 60, he was now getting into politics. Yeah. In early 1950s, we see him, 1950 exactly, working at the Nairobi City Council, was employed as a sanitary officer from that sanitary background, and then went on in that span of working also, was elected as the African Workers Association leader, president. But the association was weak. So his background, he also had a very strong background in labor union and rights movement. That is when he changed that association into a Kenya government labor union. And that sparked a lot of suspicion from his boss, who wanted to do away with him in terms of making him to resign from his work. But he himself saw that coming and resigned earlier and continued to form that thick background in labor's union. During also in the 50s to 60s, that is the time that he also went to the United States, was a very, very close friend to the Kennedy, JF Kennedy, who later became the president. At that time, he was the senator, a senator in the United States, and also was also very, very close to Martin Luther King. And everyone knows Martin Luther King, very outspoken person. Tom Mboya was an orator. And that was a very, very good skill that sold him internationally.
What is the meaning
of orator? He's a person who knows how to speak and how to give his views to the crowd. For example, even Barack Obama is a very good orator, and that is what made him to be president.
Like how Kasmuel, Macoure.
We are coming to that exactly. And that oration, that sharpness is what now gave Tom Mboya the accolades that he got. In the 1950s to 60s, again, that is the time where we are seeing a lot of United States influence in Tom Mboya, and also the British influence on Tom Mboya. The British exposed him to the world, made him go to all conferences, made him just to rub shoulders with the who's and who's across the world. The United States saw in this person a labor rights movement, a leader, a person who was very passionate about the future of the United States then, which was inclusivity, bringing people together and making sure that everyone has their rights. Tom Mboya was fighting for the rights of the people who are working here in Kenya, Africans, and saying that they need better wages, they need better conditions. Martin Luther King was doing the same. In fact, Tom Mboya gave a speech during Martin Luther King's famous speech in the United States. So he was a person who was very close to the who's and who's at that time in the world, and also was a leader at the International Confederate of Labor Workers Union in Africa. That was a very, very big position at that time. He was a Pan-Africanist. The person wanted to be close to African struggles, and people like Kwame Nkrumah, who were close to Tom Mboya, and even invited Tom Mboya in some of the ICFTU meetings that were happening across Africa, in Lagos and Ghana. So we are seeing Tom Mboya in the 50s and 60s, someone who is building himself, who is getting close to Africa, as well as is exposed to what is happening across the world, more so in Britain and the United States. Yes. So when you come to 1960s, before Kenya got independence, he was as well in the 50s, 60s that I haven't mentioned. He was part of the legislative members of IMO. People who were picked to be representative of Kenya between when there were only 8 Africans and over 50 white people who were representative here in Kenya. So he saw that gap and made sure that he does something to balance that, because he saw that the reason as to why many Kenyans were not part of IMO was the basic reason that they were not exposed, they were not learned enough. So because he had that kind of a relationship with Kennedy, went and signed a pact with Kennedy and started the Kennedy airlifts, the famous Kennedy airlifts, that saw 81 Kenyans flown from Kenya all the way to the United States to go and study whatever they're going to study, to bring back the knowledge to Kenya. Some of the people who went in those 81 were Wangari Maathai, person who later became to be known. Yeah. And later also, he also, in that program, Barack Obama Sr. was also part of the beneficiaries. So it is also good to say Obama Sr. Yes, the father to Barack Obama. Oh. Yes. So it is also right to say that Tom Mboya was very, very categorical, was very, very important in Barack Obama becoming the president of the United States. Because if it wasn't for him to go and have that pact that allowed Africans to move from Kenya to the United States to study, Barack Obama Sr. will never have gone to the United States, and then we'll never have Barack Obama as president. Yeah. So those are the contributions that Tom Mboya brought, as well as before that. Now he was the Minister of Labor in Kenya before independence. During independence, he became the Minister of Constitutional Affairs and Legal Justice here in Kenya. Then after the independence, that is between 1963, that is Madaraka Day and Jamhuri Day. There is a period there when our founding father, that is Jomo Kenyatta, was the Prime Minister. That is the period where he was the Minister of Legal Justice and Constitutional Affairs. After 1964 December, now he became the minister appointed by the president to lead economic planning, and he went on to be the Minister of Economic Planning to his death in 1969, 5th July. So during that fateful day, 5th July of 1959, Tom Mboya was going just to have, it was a casual day. In fact, some of his friends had told him that, Tom Mboya, you know, there are people who are planning to kill you. There are people who are planning to assassinate you. And he was to go to the UK at that time, during that period. He was leaving Addis Ababa and wanted to go to the UK. And so he said, you know, me going to the UK for 2 or 3 days is not going to derail those people who want to assassinate me. It will only just extend a few days, but it will not do away with those people. So he was a fearless person. Yeah, he did not fear anything. He said that I am going to come to Kenya, then I'll go to the UK, to the at that time it was Britain. I'll go to Britain after I come to Kenya, and that is, he never went to Britain. He was assassinated just before he went. He went on that day. He went to a pharmacy, Chani pharmacy here at the current Moi Avenue, to buy lotion in that pharmacy. And after he left, he was just pushed by that lady that was selling there, selling at that pharmacy. And when he was leaving that pharmacy, just outside the pharmacy, he was gunned down by one Nation Isaac Njoroge. Yeah, and Nation Isaac Njenga Njoroge was arrested. And after he was arrested, of course, they tried to resuscitate him, but 2 bullets, yeah, and it was fatal. The first bullet was already fatal. The second one was, yeah, just to add to that kind of trauma that he got. So after all that, Nation was arrested, and after Nation was arrested, he said something very important, that why don't you arrest the big man? Yeah. So Nation, in a way, signified that there were people who were more than just the person who is arrested. There is someone higher than me that sent me to do this. He said, why don't you arrest the big man? So there is that controversy over who did it, because over who sent Nation to commit that crime. And if you look at it closely, you'll find that there were a lot of people who did not want Tom Mboya to continue to being Tom Mboya, to continue his path in being that brilliant guy who was in government. There are a lot of people who had different interests. By the way, Tom Mboya was a part of the people who made KANU. Okay, he collapsed his own party just to form KANU. When previously KAU was there, KAU was banned in Kenya from operating because of the Mau Mau struggles. Tom Mboya was the only one who was not caught, of course. Kina Jomo Kenyatta, whatever, Paul Ngei were incarcerated. Tom Mboya was not incarcerated. After they were arrested, the Jomo Kenyatta and the Kapenguria 6, they told Tom Mboya to specifically go and continue the struggle of KAU. Okay. Now, when he went and became the Secretary General there to continue that struggle, KAU was banned. After KAU was banned, he switched, because he had that strong aura for labor union movement. He went now to labor union movements to try and advocate for the same things, independence and the freedom of Kapenguria 6 through the labor unions that were there. And of course, when push came to shove, he also formed his own political party, NCPC, that brought different people together to rally for the release and freedom and independence of Kenya. So after they were released, he collapsed his own party to form KANU now. So he was a solid member of the founding party, one of the founding fathers here in the country. And if you look at the trajectory that Tom Mboya had, he had the blessings of the British. He had the very solid blessings of the United States. Yeah. He had the blessings of Kenya and Africans. he was a person that was destined to become a president here in Kenya. Yeah. So a lot of people.
So the people from the lakeside could get an advantage of having someone.
It was solid and it was a straight path. But of course, there are people who did not want this person to be the president. When he was the minister of economics planning, he saw Kenya to his death. He saw Kenya having a development percentage of 7%. That was impressive at that time. And he had that mix of capitalism as well as African socialism that he incorporated in economics planning, and even came up with sessional paper number 10 that encompassed African socialism and capitalism to have a vibrant economy that responds to Kenya and Kenya's needs. So he was a person that was very, very sharp and was leading his cabinet in a very, very efficient way. And if you look at that, a lot of people had an eye over what he was aiming to achieve or what fate wanted him to achieve. So there have been allegations. There was a senior member of the CIA who came out and said that it was the KGB. The KGB is we can call it the CIA, similar to a CIA of Russia. A senior CIA member in 1970 something came out and said that it was the KGB that assassinated Tom Mboya because he had that resemblance of representing the Western culture here in Kenya. And at that time, it was a Cold War. A Cold War was brewing, and there was that rift between the West and the East, and they didn't want the West to have influence in Kenya. So those were the allegations of that CIA ex-member at that time. As well as Robert Kennedy Jr. came out in 2023 and said that, 2023 is last year, right? And said that the reason as to why he was assassinated was that President Moi sent someone to assassinate the minister at that time. So you find that there were a lot of people who had interest at that time, as well as others will say that the mountain region didn't want a person from outside the mountain to come and become president of the country. That is also something that is being spewed by some section of people who have gone through this history. So there are a lot of controversies that if you go and read, you'll find that people are claiming this, others are claiming that. The fact is, Nashon Isaac Njenga Njoroge was sentenced to death after he was arrested. And I think we will only keep on hearing people coming up with different...
the question is, to our viewers,
yes,
who killed Tom Mboya?
That is the big question.
Yeah,
that is the big question.
Is someone that could have helped us as a country.
Absolutely.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
In Kenya, we think that Macoure is a reincarnation of Tom Mboya. That's what I can say. Kasmuel Macoure, a true definition of a leader, upcoming leader. And the way this guy is doing it exactly like how Tom Mboya used to do, like how you have tell us in this story.
Yeah. To me, I'll say yes, and to some extent no. That is just my assessment. One, yes, because he is a very good orator.
Yeah.
Macoure is a very good orator. Tom Mboya is a very good orator, was a very good orator. Tom Mboya was also articulate in what he wanted. Macoure, we are seeing him very articulate. Tom Mboya was fearless, as I said. Macoure has shown that he's fearless. Tom Mboya is also fearless, was also fearless. Macoure is fearless. He showed up for that demonstration. So we are seeing some elements of them having similarities. The only differences that I can say is, during that time, Tom Mboya was also very straightforward in exactly what he wanted. I'm not seeing that from Macoure, in that there are some things that they are not really well thought of that he represents. So to me, that is one thing that he is different from him, as well as these are different times. These are different times when you need to apply different mechanisms of getting rich to people. So basing on that, we can see Tom Mboya built his platform from education. He built his platform from diplomacy. He also built his platform from the labor union movement. So those are the three pillars where we are seeing Tom Mboya coming from. Macoure, we are seeing him coming from the point of having to advocate for, one, the finance bill, and also because we are just coming to know him, we don't know before what he was doing. So we just know the finance bill, and we know that he's aggressive in going and explaining himself over what he wanted. So those are the differences that I'm seeing, and I can say that he just needs to be Macoure.
Kasmuel, Macoure, we
Yes.
are watching.
Yes.
We want to see if you can imitate what Tom Mboya used to do.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I think we lost a very fundamental person in our country who could have seen our country to greatness.
Yeah.
And the fact that he was also perceived as the president of Africa by even people in the United States is something that we really missed an opportunity there. And we were left with other people who really did not take our country in the right direction in terms of, that was the time that we could have dealt with this issue of tribalism.
Yeah.
That was the time. And that was the time that it really started and kicked off, because now we saw tribal movements, tribal allegations, tribal policies kept coming up that have really devastated our country to a point that sometimes you feel like it is a fight that you cannot win. Even this Macoure coming to fight for the finance bill and everything, we can see that tribalism came in and has separated the entire movement. So that was the time. And should we have someone like Tom Mboya on top of everything, also leading, will maybe have changed our country to become a more civilized country and a more unified country. But we lost that opportunity.
Until next time, we say game over.